All right, we will call the meeting to order at 6 o'clock. First item on the agenda is roll call.
Aaron Moran,
Here.
Chris Zellner,
Here.
Bill Zisselsberger,
Here.
Kristen Runge,
Here.
Nyla Fry,
Here.
Jack Heineman, Sam Kaufman.
Here.
Next item on the agenda is confirmation of open meeting compliance.
I can confirm that the draft agenda was published in the Waunakee or in the Tribune Enterprise on 2/27. The final agenda was posted in all three official posting locations on 2/26 and 2/27. And the final agenda and packet were made available online on 2/29. Those in the audience, please be sure you've signed in for accurate record keeping with your name, address, and municipality. And anybody interested in participating in public comment, coming up soon here, just hand me a form and we'll call on you.
All right, and do we have any forms for public
We do.
comment?
Sam Robinson at 305 Patrick Avenue in Waunakee.
Yep, if you go up to the podium and then press the button so the mic is green, they'll be able to hear you online then.
The push button,
There we go.
just leave it.
Just leave it, yep,
Okay.
and then Carla will have.
Want
the
this
text
thing to
ready.
blow up. Is my 3 minutes started yet? I'd like to comment on the ordinance regarding amending Chapter 70 traffic and vehicles to create number 7 bicycles, e-bikes, etc. I wish this was a win-win answer, but I don't know if it's a step back or forward. I'm a regular dog walker and walker. I've been hit, twisted around, and fallen by my dog's leash and her reaction to when a bike, e-bike, or scooter has swooped past, sworn at, and laughed at by both kids, young and old adults. I've asked kids to stop to ask them, as an educator, see if I can educate them to next time to step off their bikes and respect the walker. That hasn't worked. Kids and adults don't follow the rules now, so how will this change their behavior? There's a young lady, because I walk by the library where I live, there's a young lady who works at the library, I found out, that owns some kind of green enclosed vehicle that I almost got run over by. And the second time I encountered her and almost got run over, I asked her, how come you can run this on a sidewalk? She said, I got permission. I don't know where that came from. Had I not moved to the sidewalk, I would have been hit. And she was clearly, there was no room on the sidewalk for 2 people. I could clearly tell that she had no intention of yielding to me. It felt like the Wild West. If this amendment goes through, there must be a huge educational component to accompany this with the help of our police, schools, and school liaison officer, and especially parents to inform kids as well as adults about this. Do you have a plan? How will this be carried out? How will it be enforced? Do citizens call 911 and report someone who ran over them or didn't yield to me? Or does it fall totally on our police? I taught for 36 years, and kids and often parents will push the path of least resistance in knowing about and following this change, as Aaron and Chris well know. Pushed the limits here and there, didn't we? This will not make pedestrians and dog walkers safer. My fear is that there will be more incidents. Even though the e-bikes, et cetera, would be required registration, there will be many that will slip through the cracks, whether it be to, to not being informed or simply not following the ordinance. Again, how will you inform all involved? Thank you to the Safety Committee's efforts to tackle this critical safety concern. But before this gets passed through, possibly tonight, I believe this important change needs considerable public input with community folks, kids, police, and village board members working together to make this as much of a win-win as possible. I don't think it's in the best interest of all parties to pass this tonight, but rather take a step back and see what more needs to be done to ensure the safety and success of this change. What a great opportunity to seek and gather input from kids who this will probably affect the most. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is Robert McPherson at 1703 Alexandria Court.
All right, I do something dangerous here. I didn't bring any of my notes tonight, so we'll see if I stay in my 3 minutes. So obviously here to talk about affordable housing, right? But I am also going to hedge a little bit of my time and talk about the ordinance that's going to be discussed tonight. So just to start with the affordable housing, I did get addressed by a trustee while I was working in a poll. I don't know if it was an appropriate addressing, but the trustee said, haven't heard from you. And, I don't think that I'm going to push any sort of affordable housing unless I hear from you personally. Didn't know I had that type of power over a trustee before. So in light of that, I thought about it and I said, well, I'm not necessarily going to give this person a phone call because I don't know that I appreciate how it was done, but I will address the full board and tell the full board, if you have interest in knowing how an ordinance is written, more than happy to do that. Or I would suggest you work with the league, because the league has great stuff that you can use that tells you how to write an ordinance. Second, if you need ideas on what to write for an ordinance, great. I will tell you, and I will tell you right now, and I can do it in 1 minute flat. First idea, reduce parking requirements or eliminate them completely, have parking maximums instead of parking minimums. Second, and this was suggested in a report that you received very recently, cut back your setback requirements. Make lots be able to be smaller, make houses be able to be bigger on lots, have smaller yards. It's okay. I know a lot of you love your grass. Not everybody loves grass. People will buy houses with smaller yards on them. It's fine. And setbacks, sometimes when you have setbacks, when rules about where parking should be on those setbacks, like big garages instead of a house, it's a bigger garage than a house. It's ugly, it takes up space. You can also even rewrite your setback rules so that people can house houses that are vertical instead of horizontal on the plot. These are all things that you can do to take steps immediately. You can also start looking at how you're incentivizing developers and how they use the land. A lot of times we subsidize new parts of the village by making old parts pay taxes on roads that are pretty wide. Maybe work with the fire department, see if you can get a little smaller on your roads. And if they say, well, that's really small, you say, they make smaller fire trucks, right? You don't need to have huge fire trucks. You don't need to have a ladder that can reach a building tall enough in downtown Madison, but way taller than anything that would be the height of St. John's, which I know is our limit. So those are some ideas that you can start with. Also starts with whereas, and you go from there. That's how you write an ordinance change that you want to present to the rest of the board. All right, 30 seconds. Just wanted to say, I do not agree with the e-bike ordinance on multiple levels, but I will tell you, as a bicyclist who does respect the rules of the road and who does not run over pedestrians and who trained his child not to interfere with pedestrians, my concern is just that if you do push this and you're punishing kids for doing sick wheelies on the sidewalk, they're going to start going out the road. They're going to get hit by cars. Cars are way scarier. And if we do push kids out in the roads with an ordinance inadvertently like this because they're afraid to be on the sidewalk, it's going to end poorly for the kids. They're going to get hit by cars. Thanks.
Thank you, Robert.
Next up is Linda Ashmore at 114 South Street.
As noted by my address, I live on South Street, so we feed into 3 schools and so we get a lot of the e-bikes and the e-scooters on the sidewalks, and right now it's not safe. We walked 2 dogs for years, and just in the last year, it's like the e-bikes will come up behind us and we don't have any time to get out of the way. Though if they do say, passing on the left, it's okay, we've got 2 dogs that are lunging because you don't hear the e-bikes, they're silent. And I'm afraid that, at some point a dog might bite somebody or tangle them up in a leash, as Sam was talking about. The sidewalks are really narrow. The kids don't know, the ordinance says that they're supposed to give a passing warning. And kids are kids. They don't know how much notice to give. So, and if you're elderly, you don't have the reflexes that you had as a kid. That, okay, I hear it's on my left, but okay, and there's 2 of us, so now we both got to get off. I would like to see them totally prohibit with some common sense exceptions for the sidewalks. Kids learning to ride a bike, an adult spotting them, going around a street construction, and if there's extremely heavy traffic, if it's unsafe on the road. Because like Robert said, if we don't have them on the sidewalk, we really need bike lanes. But then that kind of speaks to the age limits that were in the ordinance. I'd like to see 15. That you're really not supposed to ride in a car. You're going to be on the road, so you should know, the road rules. If you're on a sidewalk, you're just cruising along, and there's no stop signs on the sidewalk. There's stop signs in the street. And so the kids are going to go as fast as they can to get to school and to get home. If you do go down the route of allowing them on sidewalks, I'd like to see a 10-mile-an-hour speed limit. We were in Canada. We were on this nice river walk, very wide, kind of similar to what you have on Q. But there was a 15-kilometer speed limit, and that's 10 miles an hour about. So, and I don't know if the kids have the speedometers on their e-bikes and e-scooters, but they get an idea. Well, if traffic's going way faster than I am, maybe I should be going slower. Basically, if you allow e-bikes and e-scooters on the sidewalks, you have effectively turned them into bike lanes. And that just isn't safe for pedestrians. And the bike lanes do have signage, and so maybe if we're going to do that, you'd have to start thinking about, do we need to have little stop signs saying, for the sidewalk, or, please walk bike areas. One of the last things is insurance. The village pays out claims for people falling on sidewalks. So now the village is saying with this ordinance, it's okay to ride your e-bike or your e-scooter on a sidewalk. And if there's accidents, which I'm sure there's going to be because I live 2 blocks from where a kid was hit with one, is a village insurance policy going to be okay with that? If you have a trampoline in your backyard, they don't like that. I like that you're trying to regulate them, but it seems like the genie is already out of the bottle. And so I appreciate that you're attempting to regulate it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Linda.
Next up is Jerry Ashmore at 114 South Street.
Hi, I'm also here to speak about the e-bike and e-scooter ordinance. When I was a kid, I grew up in a small town. It was very much like Waunakee. The 2 main drags were numbered highways. There was a fair amount of traffic. But when we learned to ride our bikes, we learned to ride them in the street. We learned to follow traffic rules and watch for traffic. And I think kids in Waunakee at the age of middle school to high school would be helpful for them to do the same thing. I honestly feel that doing that as a kid made it easier and less of a learning curve for me to learn how to deal with traffic as a driver when I learned and got my driver's license. I'd also like to say that I agree with other people commenting that we've had people go by us on bikes and scooters, and a lot of times without any warning because you don't hear them coming up behind you. It's quite dangerous. There are places in the village where there's no setback, and so the buildings are right up to the sidewalk, and the sidewalk goes right up to the street. So there's no place to go around on a lawn or on a terrace or something to avoid people that are walking. So in particular, there are some areas where I think would be very dangerous, but I don't think it's a good idea to have bicycles, e-bikes, and e-scooters on the sidewalks, probably in most areas of the village. Thank you.
Thanks, Jerry.
And I have no other forms, but I do see there is one hand raised on online. So if you could please unmute yourself and state your name and address.
Mary Heimbecker, 306 West 3rd Street, Waunakee. I also am here to discuss the ordinance. I read through it, and I just think that they do not need to be on the sidewalks at all. They're motorized. They're dangerous. I mean, I'm older. If I'm walking on the sidewalk and I'm pushing my grandchildren, and when I'm walking out there, I'm pushing my granddaughter in a stroller, how would I get away from it in time? There'd just be no way. So I really think that the wording needs to be changed to not have them on the sidewalk. And I mean, bicycles. When my kids were younger, I don't believe that they were ever learned on the sidewalk, and they had to learn the rules of the road. And that's what these things need to do. Stop at the stop signs, use your hand signals. That's how these kids should be taught and what needs to happen with these things. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Do you have anyone else who would like to speak on this or any other subject? Do you have anyone online that would like to speak?
See no other hands.
All right, then we'll close public comments. Next item on the agenda then is consent agenda. Do we have anything we would like pulled from the consent agenda? All right, seeing nothing, do we have, or seeing?
Move approval.
Thank you.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next up then is reports and announcements. Wannaboom.
Okay, we had a pretty lengthy meeting our last time, and great news to report is that we are almost to our budget for this year's event, which is great from a fundraising standpoint. We made a decision to honor, we always pick a group to honor for the event. We are doing our National Guardsmen for the different branches, as well as pretty much our police, fire, EMS, all of those are going to be included within that to talk and how they all participate in our freedoms and our safety. So that is this year's chosen group to honor. And we are now up to 17 food carts already committed for the event. We can only take up to 22. And then lastly, met with Public Works, utilities, everybody else to make sure that power is acceptable in the park and making sure that everything we're doing is okay. As we've added quite a few things, and that was an important thing. We had a snafu at the end of last year. Nobody would have known other than us because our power went out right after the event ended. So we won't have that issue happen again.
All right, thank you very much. Next up is fire, and I'll give that report. So the fire district met last week. We had the presentation of new officers who introduced themselves and went over their history with the fire department. We had the approval of bills, the fire inspector's report, and then we had a closed session meeting on personnel changes within the fire department, but no action was taken from that. Joint Plan Commission? Is Lauren here? No, I see no Lauren.
I'm
Wait,
online.
she's online. There we go.
Yeah, so Joint Plan Commission held a special meeting on February 23rd, and they did end up voting 5-1 to deny the conditional use permit for the solar facility project on Kennedy Drive.
Are we allowed to ask questions, Brian, during report time or no?
You can ask questions, but you cannot have a discussion.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions about that they want to ask without discussing? See none? All right. All right, Utilities Commission met. We discussed a number of things. It was a very short meeting. And the next couple of weeks, you should see the building go up over the new well that we've drilled over in Kilkenny. You should see the construction of the water tower resume. And then the third thing we discussed after approving bills and receiving the regular reports was finding a replacement for Tim Herlitzka as he is retiring this year. So it was a good meeting and only about 20 minutes long. Any other committees, boards, or commissions? Let's see. Any other announcements? All right, seeing none, we'll go to our first business item, discuss and take action on an ordinance amending Chapter 70, Traffic and Vehicles to create Article 7, bicycles, e-bikes, electric scooters, and skateboards. And is this to you, Lauren? This is to you. Oh, all right. Thank you, Austin.
Sure. Yeah. All right. All right. So over the past several weeks, village staff, including myself, have been working to create the proposed ordinance amendment before you today in the agenda packet, intending to address safety concerns brought forth by the village board and members of the public regarding the usage of electric bikes and scooters within the village. Our current ordinance pertaining to bikes is very bare bones and does not include language specific to electric bikes or scooters. So we were really starting from scratch, more or less, to create an ordinance that fits the village of Waunakee. It's important to note that, as has been reiterated by the village board, this is not intended to be a one and done, end all be all ordinance amendment, but rather the first step in a process of modernizing our code to be mindful of the usage of these vehicles within the village. We conducted thorough research and legal consultation to ensure that this proposed ordinance amendment is one that abides by state statutes and is both considerate of similar ordinances in other local municipalities while also remaining specific to the needs of our village. And I can say with confidence in speaking to several municipalities in the area that this is an issue that all municipalities in Wisconsin are facing currently with different ways that they're working through it currently. As part of this ongoing discussion, we met with the Police Commission and Chief Kreitzman on several occasions to provide insight on feasibility of enforcement for anything included in the proposed ordinance amendment, which led to the Police Commission recommending approval of the ordinance at their January 27th meeting. The intention of the ordinance as proposed is to be paired with an educational campaign informing the public of the revised ordinance and using its content as guidelines for how these vehicles are intended to be used within the village. Looking more specifically at what's included in the ordinance, I'm not going to go through anything in great detail, but section 70-210 is what really gets into the details of essentially the rules of the road, or do's and don'ts for riding these vehicles, and broadly outlines a series of best practices for usage of these vehicles while allowing the opportunity for more restrictive actions as deemed necessary by the board in the future, such as the placement of signs prohibiting usage of the vehicles in certain parts of the village or on certain sidewalks per section 7210 item B, where prohibited. Also, other options for future consideration include enforcing helmet requirements, sidewalk speed limits, age limits, and other options that are not included in the ordinance as proposed. One point I do want to make clear is that the ordinance is not, while none of the provisions set forth differ from what's already outlined in state statutes, the ordinance as proposed would allow for the usage of bikes and e-bikes on sidewalks where they previously were not allowed. State statute does not allow riding of bikes or e-bikes on sidewalks unless an ordinance such as this is passed allowing it. And since there are areas of the village where these vehicles cannot be safely operated on the roadway, section 7210 item D allows them on sidewalks with added guidelines as to how to operate them safely, being mindful of pedestrians and always giving pedestrians the right of way in all circumstances. The last thing I'll mention is that section 70-209 pertaining to registration and, section 70-208 pertaining to penalties does allow issuing citations to those over the age of 12. The police department is unable to issue citations to those under the age of 12. And a main point of ongoing discussion has centered around the resources that would be required to police and track violations to this ordinance amendment. And Chief Kreitzman, who's here tonight, can speak more on considerations that factored into this amendment from an enforcement perspective. So with that, I will hand it over to the board for any discussion or questions.
All right, thank you. Chief Kreitzman, do you have anything you'd like to add to the presentation?
Yeah, I would just like to touch real briefly just on the operating on a sidewalk. Well, I understand, and Austin covered it pretty well. Previously had been restricted. I would say that that has not been enforced, mostly from a safety standpoint. And we had a conversation about this at the police committee level about, you know, there are certain age groups that, yes, you could ride in the road safely and you understand enough to do that. But there's age groups that, quite frankly, I don't think are old enough or understand enough how to ride in the roadway, and the safest place for them is the sidewalk. And trying to differentiate between the two is one of the challenges that not only we face looking at this, but I think committees and commissions and municipalities all across probably the country as these things take off are also facing. So there's a number of challenges to do this. I still think a huge part of this is educational. It's still a major piece that we're working on. We're in the process of scheduling bike rodeos with all of our elementary schools and talking with the school district about how we can get this into their classwork. We will obviously market it and run a big educational campaign in a number of different areas, including how we enforce it as we get into spring and more people are outside. But this is, as Austin said too, this is not going to be a guarantee that this is going to work. There are always going to be people that unfortunately don't follow the ordinances or follow the best practices. And but I do think it's a good starting point, and I think it gives us an opportunity to be a little bit more stricter in the future if our educational side is not as strong as we would like it to be.
Thank you. All right, so trustees, what questions do we have? Nyla?
Adam, you know, the bike rodeos at the elementary levels sound absolutely great. What can be done to educate the junior high and high school students?
Yeah, that's certainly part of it too. We've talked about the intermediate school, being able to connect in with like Heritage, because the elementary school is right there for the bike rodeo. I think those are some conversations that we can bring to the middle school and high school from a gym class, maybe. I don't think you're going to see a huge attendance at a bike rodeo. Part of that is working with the school district as well. They have shared a lot of our media things that we've put out there. We've reached out to them as well as far as educating. But a lot of that is just getting out and talking to people and trying to get parents to also be involved in this, because the educational component can't just come from the police department. It really needs to come from at home too, from a parenting standpoint as well.
Thank you.
Other questions? Erin?
I am very conflicted on this, just the sidewalk situation. Growing up on Main Street, it's seems so much more dangerous to be riding. I never would have learned how to ride my bike on the road there, right? It's hard to know. Sometimes watching, is someone really fast or are they using pedal assist? There's just so many things that we are trying to tackle with this. I think it's a start, and I think we've had really good discussions. I also don't want us to invest too much in our educational campaign if we are going to be changing this in a few months. So I just hope we are resourceful with our efforts there, I guess. My biggest question right now is just the helmet situation. We don't have anything addressing helmets in the ordinance. I don't think I'm seeing anything. And I know that was brought up at a past meeting that maybe we don't have the authority to make a helmet ordinance. So I'm not sure if anyone could speak on that.
I'll say that other municipalities in Wisconsin and Dane County have passed ordinance amendments with helmet requirements and restrictions. As to whether there's legal authority to do so, we would have to verify further, but yeah.
I think that's a great start. Another way to have an opportunity to educate someone on the importance of that and other safety things. So yeah, I'm excited for the discussion.
All right, thank you, Erin. Other questions or comments? Yeah, good.
I'm on the police committee that looked at this, and we looked at it from, I don't know, probably 50 different angles, different perspectives. What I guess it's an old fashioned idea, but my idea is if everyone would show some common courtesy and respect and have an understanding that what we want to do is have things safe for everybody. For young children trying to learn how to ride a bike, and for senior citizens who are trying to walk or walk their dog, and their hearing may not be what it was, and they can't move as fast, or the sidewalk may not be very wide. It's a very difficult conversation because we are all coming from the perspective we want everyone to be safe, and this is what we came up with, and it is a working document. This isn't going to take care of everything, but hopefully it will be a start. By no means do we think it's perfect.
Jack and Sam, any comments?
Yeah, I guess, the challenge I have is just enforcement. How do you enforce this? How do you know that a kid is 10 years old versus 12 years old versus 16 years old? Listening to the folks regarding sidewalks, you don't want to ride down Main Street. Can we restrict these off of Main Street and ride on the side roads? You can still get around town and so forth, but you're not on a major highway, major thoroughfare. And there is some halfway decent bike lanes, on Main Street. When they redid that, I ride my bike down Main Street, and I just have to watch for a door opening up so that they don't knock me off my bike. But anyways, I think if you could have more restrictive areas, and And, you know, I guess one of the things when this was brought to our attention, you know, several weeks ago or several months ago, and now I guess it is, but is there some requirements, you know, that we can, you know, basically get a license to ride one of these things, or at least certified training, you know, that if somebody's gonna be riding one of these e-bikes or scooters, they have to have at least a certificate. And if they don't have the certificate, you know, then are they qualified to ride, you know, on our roads and so forth? And then with that, you know, you could have, you know, if a police officer pulls over somebody for driving recklessly or riding recklessly, at least, you know, it's like having your insurance card, you know, that we need when we drive a vehicle. You know, the first thing they ask for is, can I see your insurance? So, you know, those are some things I think if we did that, I just don't know what this is really going to do. You know, you guys did a remarkable job putting something like this together, but if it doesn't have teeth to it, then why would we pass it? You know, and you know, maybe the comments by one of our public speakers, do we pull together, you know, a constituent group of elderly, of parents, of riders, you know, to and maybe that's been done, I don't know, but get some input from these different groups so that you know, we can come up with something that is agreeable to you know, everybody that's involved from a safety standpoint. You know, passing this, just saying we've got it, I don't know, I'm not sure it helps the police department. I'm not sure that it really solves the issues that we're trying to solve.
So Adam, would this be helpful? Do you think?
Well, we did have 2 or 3, Joe, maybe help me out, 2 or 3 police committee meetings that were publicly noticed. We did have a group that showed up to one of them very early on, but the last 2 that we've had have not had any comments from the public showing up. And I'm not going to say that that means people don't care. People obviously care. I'm just saying that we haven't really seen a big outpouring of comments on the specifics of it. And I think when we do it, it varies, but feel free to.
And ultimately, the riders that need to hear the message, they're not the ones that you're going to be getting into any of these groups. I mean, we even think about, you know, we're redoing the skate park. Obviously, that's a concentrated facility where people come and gather. It took us over 6 months to even get in contact with some of them just to get them in the room for the conversation. Here, it's scattered everywhere. I think, you know, conflicted is an apt descriptor. I share the concern about sidewalks, but at the same time, you know, whether we have a definition somewhere else or so forth, we have some areas where there is no sidewalk. It's an asphalt path. Are we going to consider that differently as well? Because in many of the roads that have that, there is not another option. You know, Century Avenue, the northern part, there is no bike lane on that road.
Yeah, can I have Joe and Chris speak first? Yeah, Joe, go ahead.
Honestly, I don't really have a whole lot to add to it. I'm conflicted on this, even after all of the police committee meetings. I do think this is a good starting point. How long is it going to be before we need to amend this and make some changes to it? I don't know. It depends on how soon the weather gets nice enough that we have a bunch of people out. But I think we need to do something, and I think this is an improvement over where we've been in the past.
All right, Chris.
Common theme, I think, is conflicted within this whole process that we've gone through. And as I think back over years, Waunakee and the changes that have been here, I never saw a dirt bike that had a small engine on it or a spree or any of those things driving on sidewalks. Their max speeds was 25, 30 miles an hour as well. I would assume we didn't let them because they had an engine on them. This seems the same thing to me, to put something that's going 30 mile per hour on a sidewalk with pedestrians, with cars backing out, all these different things wouldn't generally be a positive feature within the community. I'm assuming that was addressed within the police committee in talking about this. The enforceability, I don't see anything that's going to be enforceable here. I think this is going to be a nightmare for you, Adam, and your team, especially when you're saying you can give a ticket to a 12-year-old. When you pull them over, do you say, give me your ID? They don't have an ID, obviously. And if they're 11 or 10 or 9, what is the process at that point? Are we going to take them and bring them to their home and tell their parents, slap on your hand? I just think there's more. I feel there's almost more negatives within the policy as it sits until we have something that's more concrete. The other communities that you talk to, this seems like it's more of a statewide thing. We're going to have education in our schools. What about the kids that are moving from other areas that had different rules within their communities? How are they going to be educated? How are we going to take care of that? I can see some parents being pretty upset when they get a violation ticket for their kids, but maybe it will be something that wakes them up too. I fear that really nothing concrete is going to happen until somebody gets truly hurt in this situation. And I think we're all trying to look at, well, who are we trying to protect right now? Are we trying to protect the kids? Are we trying to protect the pedestrians? We're trying to protect everybody. And that gets difficult. There's reasons there's rules with vehicles, because obviously there are higher speeds and all the safety things that have been put onto vehicles now to protect people. I don't know how we protect a bicyclist. As Jack said, if he's driving down the street and somebody opens their door or pulls out, they're going to get wiped out. It doesn't matter if they're an adult or a child. So how do you improve things to make it workable for everybody and the different age groups that are out there? I don't know how you do that. Do you say on the sidewalks, if you're less than 12 years old, you can be on the sidewalk. If you're over 12 years old, you have to be off the sidewalk. But then you look at Erin's thing, she couldn't, if you're living on Main Street, that causes an issue. Because now you're going out into the busiest street in the community. So I just see conflicted as the right word with this to figure out, and I'm just scratching the surface of different concerns and ideas and things that I'm thinking about with this. But our goal is all of our pedestrians, no matter what they're doing, if it's riding a bike, riding a scooter, riding a skateboard, whatever it might be. The power is where I think this has caused this little bit of an uproar, because I don't like seeing the kids that are passing cars.
Yeah.
On these. That's definitely not a safe situation for them or the vehicle. Because I know that probably one of the most traumatic things somebody could probably experience is hitting a child in their vehicle. It's just what it is. And I'm sure you've dealt with that, Adam. It's not going to be a good situation. So I'm not going to vote for this as it is right now, because I think there's too many flaws to it. I think we need to push this up too. And like I said, I think that we need to have some sort of uniform policy throughout our state, if not our country, but state for sure, because the other communities, kids come from other communities into Waunakee too. They're not just Waunakee residents that are riding bikes in these things. Very easy for somebody to come from Dane or Westport, which will be right next door to us here very soon as a village. So my thoughts.
So I think there's a lot in here that we all would say isn't conflicted. We all agree on. Probably clinging to other vehicles and towing. Probably not a lot of controversy around that. Parking, you can't park your bike somewhere where it's going to be a hazard. Safety equipment required, like lights. Improper operating, how we define that is different. Possibly even carrying extra passengers if you don't have the equipment to do so. Operating in the business district, maybe. Somebody who's gotten almost mowed over several times on Main Street while shopping. So some of these, there's a lot in here that I think is just really good work. I think the areas that maybe we're still not agreed upon is e-bikes, and the safety issue around riding on sidewalks versus not riding on sidewalks. Because as somebody who's raised little kids, the best place for them often is, as you say, Adam, the sidewalk. Now, is that the safest place for me as a 50-something bicyclist? No, I can ride in a road just fine. So do we want to send this back and take another stab at some of the items? And if so, where are our points of conflict? Is it around e-bikes primarily?
Speed and e-bikes.
Speed and e-bikes? Mhm.
The power
Yeah.
component.
The power component?
Yep.
Okay. So there's a lot in here that's good, but we need a little more clarity on the power component. Does that sound agreeable to everybody?
Yeah, is the manufacturers, have they said anything about this? I mean, obviously they're approving speeds on these bikes or scooters with it. Have they, they're putting in, I'm assuming, age so-and-so to so-and-so, just like everything else that you have for children, that they're required to do so. And I mean, they should be the ones that are talking to communities about how this could be, in my opinion, the manufacturers.
We have not heard from them.
Mhm.
I would imagine they're making a lot of money right now, so things are
Yeah.
good for them.
So it's about the money.
Well, they're running a business, but yes. I think from my perspective, I don't want to speak for the other people on the police committee, really, I think what we want to learn is that if you guys want to restrict these completely because they have power, is that what you're talking about? Because I think the challenge is, is it you don't want them on the sidewalk, or is it that you don't want there to be powered equipment on the sidewalk? I think that's, I don't know, Austin, if you have other ideas. I know you sat through a bunch of those meetings too, but from my perspective, trying to put an ordinance together, that would be the questions that I would have for this
I
group.
would say powered on a sidewalk is what we don't want.
Yeah.
You know, if it's a kid learning to ride a small bike on sidewalk, I don't have a problem with that.
I think the thing that throws it into question is in my neighborhood, a lot of the kids riding their powered scooters are clearly like under 10.
That was going to be the
Yeah.
next point, the part where, what is our recourse as we can't write a ticket under 12 years old.
Yeah.
And then where is the punishment's probably a bad word, but punishment essentially for breaking the ordinance, I think these are some of the challenges that when we sat and tried to put this together, makes it very challenging. There's a reason why a lot of municipalities don't have a golden ticket ordinance, because all of these same challenges, but
I think personally for a kid, even a 12 or a 13-year-old or even a teenager, a call home to mom and dad from a police officer saying,
Yep.
they're not in trouble, they're okay, but
and we're doing that. We have that as part of our policies already, involving juveniles and contacts with parents anytime we have a contact. So those things are already in place as part of our internal policies within the department, but yeah.
One thing I wanted to add is we do define what an e-bike is in the ordinance. And Austin, I don't know if you want to scroll back up to definitions. But just to clarify, when we're talking about e-bikes, the definition is included in the ordinance. So it's not the homemade dirt bike with a motor on it. It has a specific definition.
I used to drive a Yamaha Raz, and my Raz downhill with the wind at my back would go 25 miles an hour. So a class 3 electric bicycle that goes 28 miles an hour, that feels really fast to me.
I still like I was born when it was made. No, but 1980 Honda Express.
Excellent.
Wonderful cruiser, but not on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
Chief, when there is an incident with a child, can you just, I guess, clarify what Chris was getting at? You just asked the child for their age and that we honor what they tell us. Okay.
Yes, most kids aren't carrying any type of identification. I mean, you can confirm it with a phone call home to a parent, but yeah, I mean, some of the hard parts too is a kid riding down, we could have 15 kids ride down the street, and just looking at them, knowing what their age is, and are we going to stop those people randomly because they look close? I think that gets to be a little problematic. So just, that's another level of a challenge, but.
So right now, is there a tool that the PD has to be able to stop someone besides, oh, you don't look old enough, or like what would be the reasoning right now, I guess, just improper use?
Right now would be, improper, like riding that would create a safety concern.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the speed, do we have a good way right now to know the speed, or what would that look like if we are going to be?
Some of our radar equipment could, if we're targeting that specifically, but like the ones that are in our cars that typically pick up your car when we're driving past you aren't aimed towards the sidewalk. They tend to be aimed towards the other lane of traffic that's coming towards you. We do have a couple of radar units that would probably pick up an e-bike or an e-scooter, again, if targeted directly.
All right, I think we're going to pass this back to committee for some more work. Does anyone have anything else before we close that they'd like to add? Todd, I'm sorry.
Yeah, first of all, for our next meeting, can we have a video of you riding your Raz?
Me?
Yes.
Have it anymore. I miss
Okay,
it so
well.
much. Yeah. So,
All right.
has one, I'd be happily. Yeah.
Just two notes. One, I know, Chief, that we have several communities in Dane County, across the state actually, that have passed some of these ordinances within the past 6 months or so. Locally, McFarland,
Mhm.
it was in January, maybe December. Is there, one question is if there's information starting to come out about how departments have experienced the enforcement dilemma with these new ordinances as they've come to fruition. So I'd be curious if you're hearing dialogue about that. The other thing is, because it's being talked about in communities across the country, frankly, is there a time when we expect to see other levels of government above us, the county or the state, getting into the business of looking at uniform legislation that, I don't know, we might best either wait for or try to align with? So those two questions for Lauren and Chief.
Thanks, Todd. No?
I don't have an answer on that right now. I think the McFarland ordinance that just came out, I don't think they've had a chance to truly assess that if it just came out in January. I mean, you would want to wait till probably almost at least halfway through the summer to see if they've seen any improvements. A lot of the other municipalities are all working in the same area that we are, because we're getting questions all the time saying, hey, did we put something out yet? Or, I don't think everybody has the answer. So they're kind of playing a little bit of a look and see. And there are some ordinances that have been out for some places, but I've not heard, or at a state level. I haven't
I know
heard.
there's a touch of scuttle at the county level that we've heard about, right? Forgot who it was that reached out to us from the county with questions about trying to align regulations.
That was from the city, I think.
Oh, was that the city of Madison? Oh, okay.
Question, do we have statistics? Are we collecting those statistics as to how many incidents we've run into?
Yeah, we will be moving forward. That was part of our records management change that we did that allows us to be a lot more flexible and direct in the things that we're looking to collect. So under our old one, we weren't collecting it. It wasn't really possible unless we did it by hand. This system that we're in now, it gives us the ability to do that. So it would be something we would track moving forward.
It'd be interesting, we hear stories, and I think, I don't agree with e-bikes riding up behind people and pushing them off the sidewalks and so forth. But it'd be interesting to see, what those statistics are. If we can have the community report them and start documenting those type of cases.
All right. Thank you.
One more question.
One more question?
There's somebody who hasn't really weighed in or said a word yet.
Yeah.
Brian?
Well, sorry, Chris, I'm actually not the one working on this. It's a different attorney in our office. So the only question that I can answer is the state does not allow the village to mandate training or educational requirements for this.
So within this ordinance, does this provide more liability to the village or less liability by having this in place based on the enforceability and what's in here?
Well, if I heard correctly, my understanding is, I don't know the answer to that question. I mean, it's a very difficult issue. I'm not sure that this is, my understanding is right now you can't ride bikes on the sidewalk. Obviously it happens and there's probably that's the case in a lot of communities now. I mean, that's where you learn how to ride a bike when you're a kid, is on the sidewalk. So this is a tough one, but I don't think that if you pass this, you are going to modify your liability in any way, shape, or form. Probably, I think that if somebody gets hit on a sidewalk right now, you're probably going to get a claim. It's going to go to the insurance company. It's going to get investigated. I doubt that there's going to be any liability. Just like I doubt there would be any liability if you pass this. But I think there are bigger issues that you guys are gonna, I mean, the best way to say it is whenever you are trying to solve the problem you are trying to solve now, which is to try to make things safe for everyone, one, you're only gonna be able to do so much. And as soon as you open that door, if something goes wrong, somebody's gonna sue you. And we're just gonna have to deal with it at that point in time.
And I'm thinking about our sidewalk replacement policy because we have a lot of sidewalks that need to be replaced. And if we have something going 30 miles an hour and hits something and wipes out, is that coming on us?
I don't believe so, because I think that we have a mechanism in place right now where we do, we do standard inspections of our sidewalks. I mean, not the entire village, but I think we've worked with the insurance company to work on where we're going to do that. And as long as we continue with that program, I think we've effectively taken the steps that we need to protect ourselves on the sidewalks, with the exception of if there's a really big problem, like riding your bike and you see that the tree root has grown up on that one sidewalk. So now the difference is this much, and that's what you love because then you ride off of it. Well, if somebody tells us about it, we probably got to jump on that one right away. But past that, I think that the plan that the village already has in place right now for the sidewalks is providing the protections it needs.
All right, so,
One more question, sorry about that.
okay.
McFarland, how does this ordinance mimic McFarland's?
That's a long answer and we've gone 50 minutes on this. Can we bring that back the next time? Do we know what McFarland's, or are we even capable of answering that?
We're probably not.
Okay.
I'm not in detail without it in front of me. It's likely very similar, but I'm sure there's a few modifications to make it more geared towards Waunakee.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone, for the conversation, and we'll send it back to committee. Appreciate your time and all the energy that's gone into this tough issue, important issue. All right, next up then, we have 3 items that will most likely go into closed session. Todd, how should we handle this? Do we want to present them all first and then one after the other vote to go into closed session?
Whatever your preference is.
Oh, I have no preference.
You've taken it,
All right,
done
so,
it both ways before, but we could
Right.
probably do them all.
yeah, do all the presentations and then vote to go into closed session after that.
Yeah, I guess one question is, what, do we have much for presentation on any of these items? In open session presentation? Do you have it?
Yep. No,
No.
okay.
So that's no on the MLG
Okay.
item. Heyday item, Lauren, Brian, anything open session?
Not that I'm aware of, but Lauren.
Okay.
No.
Same is true for number 4.
Okay. All right, then, let's then take the vote to go into each one since we don't have presentations on any of them. Item number 2, discuss and take action on negotiating a development agreement for the Heyday project at North Madison and Easy Street. The village board may convene in closed session as authorized by Wisconsin statute 19.5851E for the purpose of deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. The village board may reconvene in open session and discuss and take action on the subject matter discussed in closed session. And do we have a motion to go into closed session on this item?
So second.
All right, roll call vote, please.
Jack Heidemann,
Yes.
Kristen Rungy,
Yes.
Aaron Moran,
Yes.
Chris Zellner,
Yes.
Sam Kaufman.
Yes.
Joe Zisselsberger,
Yes.
Nyla Fry.
Yes.
All right, item number 3, discuss and take action on proposed term sheet between the Village of Waunakee and MLG Investments 2000 LLC related to a potential tax incremental financing agreement for a land in tax increment district number 10 in the Village of Waunakee. The village board may convene in closed session as authorized by Wisconsin statute 19.851E for the purposes of deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. The village board may reconvene in open session and discuss and take action on the subject matter discussed in closed session. Do we have a motion for this item?
So moved.
Second.
All right, roll call.
Aaron Moran,
Here, or yeah.
Chris Chris Zellner,
Yes.
Kristen Rungy,
Yes.
Sam Kaufman, Joe Zisselsberger,
Here and yes.
Nyla Fry,
Yes.
and Jack Heidemann. You guys are kind of screwing me up here.
All right, number 4, and you'd think I'd have this memorized by now, but I don't. Discuss and take action on the performance of Community Development Director, Deputy Administrator The village board may convene in closed session as authorized by Wisconsin State Statute 19.851C for the purpose of considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. The village board may reconvene in open session and discuss and take action on the subject matter discussed in closed session. Do we have a motion for this one?
So moved.
Second.
All right.
Okay, Chris Zellner,
Yes.
Joseph Sisberger,
Yes.
Nyla Fry,
Yes.
Kristen Rungy,
Yes.
Jack Heineman,
Yes.
Sam Coffey.
Yes.
Aaron Moran.
Yes.
All right, we will move into closed session as soon as the room is cleared. If there is anything that we need to come back into open session and vote on, we will do so according to the law, but it will not be videotaped. It will be reflected, however, in the meeting minutes. So thank everyone for coming tonight. All right, and those that are watching online, thank you for tuning in.
You're so old school.